code.
Hello, can you see my screen, Becky?
Yes, I can see a screen.
Right. I hope everyone else can. Can everyone else see my screen?
Yes, we can see.
Right. Good. Welcome to this training session today. My name is Samson Gumenawe, and I am the Data Quality Coordinator at Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team, and I am based in Kampala, Uganda. So today we are going to get introduced to JOSM, which is a Java OpenStreetMap editor, one of the most used OpenStreetMap editors across the OpenStreetMap ecosystem. Previously, we had looked at the introduction to the ID editor, which is a web-based editor. And today we are going to look at JOSM, which is a standalone independent software that you have to install on your laptop or desktop, whatever you would be having to contribute with. So, yeah, let's get started. And this is going to be an interactive session. If you have any question, you are even free to unmute and ask a question, or you can put it up in the chat and we will be able to get answers quickly for you, or we shall be able to do some short demos for you, and yeah, we get to learn much more at the end of this session. So the objectives of this session include learning how to download and install JOSM and link it to our OSM accounts. Then we learn how to use JOSM to do basic mapping and upload those features to OpenStreetMap. Then we also learn how to install the plugins, and that's an important aspect of JOSM because JOSM works better with those plugins that are intended to perform some specific tasks. So, what is JOSM? JOSM in full is Java OpenStreetMap editor, and this is an independent standalone software that is used to edit OpenStreetMap. So as you do JOSM, you use less internet data because you are free to download the data from OpenStreetMap, synchronize it on your machine, and you go offline, you start editing, and once you finish editing your OpenStreetMap data, then you can connect again and upload that data OpenStreetMap. So I'm just going to ask the entire group if any of us have not used JOSM before, or if you've never seen JOSM, you can just type in the chat yes or no, and yeah, we should be able to move on because I want us to all be at the same pace, and so that I don't miss any important thing for all of us. Good, I can see some are already familiar with JOSM, and yeah, that's really fantastic to hear. So so how do you install JOSM? How do you get JOSM running on your computer, on your desktop, on your laptop? And you have to follow a few steps. First of all, you need to know what operating system you're using, because different operating systems use different installation guidelines and installation files. So JOSM, first of all, it runs on Windows, also runs on Mac operating system, and as well as Linux. So what you need is to do is to check the capacity of your computer to make sure that you have some storage space. And then you need to make sure that you have an internet connection because you're going to download these files from the web. And yeah, for you to be able to use JOSM perfectly, then you will need a mouse, because navigating JOSM without a mouse is going to be a little bit difficult. So let's get started on how to download JOSM. So for you to download JOSM, you need an internet connection, like I have said, and all you have to do is to go to the browser and let me share the link here, or if Becky, you have the link, you could help me share that link quickly. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
You can go ahead. I'll share. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. So yeah, so if you go to that link that I have shared, then you should be able to see the installation files for JOSM. So like I said, you need to know which operating system you are using. So if you're using Windows as your operating system, then you have to download the installer for Windows. And if you are using Mac, then you also have to download the package for Mac. So if you are using Linux or other operating systems, then you also need to know which files you need to be able to download and install JOSM. So once you have downloaded the file, the installer either for Windows or for Mac, then JOSM is a tool or is a software that runs on Java runtime environment. So you also need to install a Java runtime environment. So Becky, I would request you to share for me the link on the chat if you have the link to the Java runtime environment download page. So you need to download Java runtime environment and also install it on your laptop or desktop computer, because if you don't have Java runtime, then you won't be able to run JOSM on your computer. So once you have downloaded those two files, then it's usually better to start with Java runtime environment. You install it on your machine, and then you follow with installing JOSM, or you can do it otherwise, but still, even if you install JOSM without Java runtime environment, then you won't be able to run it. So it's always advisable that you start with installing the Java runtime environment, and then you install JOSM after. So once you have installed JOSM on your computer and you launch it, that's how it opens and that's how it looks like. So this is the main interface for JOSM. And what you see here is someone just downloaded this, installed it, and yeah, they opened it on their machine, and that's how it looks like. So it has the different components, it has the different tools, it has it has the tools, it has the panels, and all those things. You are just going to see them in this session. So here is the main interface of JOSM. How do you find what and where? So what you're seeing on your screen is the JOSM main interface, and here are the different components of JOSM. So we have the map view, that's like the map canvas, where the geo information is going to be displayed. The geotag information is going to be displayed. So as you're editing with JOSM, then you will be able to see the information in this black space, and that's called the map view, or you can call it the map canvas. Then we have the editing tools that are vertical on your left-hand side. So all the tools that you use for editing data can be found on those edit tools. Some can be hidden. All you need to know is to find a way of getting to those tools, because you can see the interface is a bit limited, but the tools are very many. Sorry. The tools are very many. So what you need to do is to check on these arrows that you see here, and you will be able to see a lot more of the tools that are used for editing. Then on the upper top side of the tool, there is the main menu that has other information and more tools and more windows that you want to open in JOSM. And then we have the shortcut toolbar. One is saying that JOSM looks like QGIS. Yeah, for those that have interacted with QGIS, and they are somehow arranged in a similar way. So we have also the shortcut toolbar, where you can add shortcuts that link you to different tools, different tags, and yeah, you can do a lot more there. You can even add more buttons there on that shortcut toolbar. Instead of looking for buttons from the main menu, you could add those buttons there, and it will make your work even more easy. Then we have the information panels. That's where you will find the layers panel. You will find the tags. You will find filters. You will find any other information pertaining the data that is being displayed in the map canvas. So like I said, the interface is somehow limited, but there is a lot more that can come to this information panel. And all we need to know is how to navigate and get to see how those things do really work. So JOSM is really a rich software, and yeah, I will just recommend that even after this session, you go get some time, explore more about this interface, see which tools do what, and yeah, because like we said from the beginning, you are learning from us, but as well, we are learning from you. So if you explore more about this, then you can come and teach more of us, and yeah, the entire world needs to know about these things. So once you download JOSM and have it running on your computer, it's really not enough. Yeah, you can do editing, you can download data to the map canvas, but it's really not enough, because you need to do a little more of settings, and these include linking JOSM to your OpenStreetMap user account, and setting more other things like installing plugins, and a lot of things that you need to do. So how do you access the settings on your JOSM software? So all you need to do, most of the settings are accessed via the preferences panel. So what you need to do is to go to the main toolbar and you find preferences, and from there you will be able to see a lot of buttons that enable you to perform a little bit more of the settings, like connecting your JOSM to the OpenStreetMap user account, and that is what you're seeing here on the screen. So when you go to edit, go to preferences, then select the connection settings, and there it will ask you to authorize JOSM to access your OpenStreetMap user account. Then you'll be able to click on authorize now, and it will ask you to enter your OpenStreetMap user account and the password. So some of us do really use the web browsers a lot. Like, you input your username and the password in, let's say, Google Chrome or Firefox, and you save the username and the password, and you keep running that, and eventually you forget what used to be your password. So it's always good, like, to remind yourself, or to save this. You can actually go to your email account for those who have access to Gmail, create like a Google document just for some of your usernames and their passwords. So that is like your private cloud where you have your files stored, and it's only you who have access to those. You don't share them, just have them, so that in case you can't recall what used to be your password for a certain account, then you can always log into your email, check the drive, and find that document for your passwords, and yeah, should be able to recall. And if you don't have that username and the password, then literally you may not be able to use JOSM perfectly. So then there are other settings that you need to do now, like setting up the remote control, because like I've told you, JOSM is a standalone software, but it needs to speak with other softwares that we use for mapping. For example, we have the tasking manager, and also we have the browsers where we get to connect to OpenStreetMap. So if you don't enable the remote control in JOSM here, then your other softwares may not be able to speak with JOSM, and you'll find challenges connecting data to JOSM from, let's say, Tasking Manager, or even downloading data direct from OpenStreetMap to edit it with JOSM. So what you need to do, like I said, most of the settings will be found under the Edit Preferences button, and you will see a lot of icons there. And the good thing is, if you hover the cursor, then it should be able to tell you what each of these icons do. Then you need to navigate to the remote connections button, and you activate the remote control so that JOSM will be able to speak with other softwares, like you can see here on the screen what we are doing there. So just go to preferences, then select the remote control settings and enable remote control, and click OK. Then JOSM will be able to speak with other independent softwares that would like to connect with it. So most of the time, once you enable that and you have clicked OK, most of the time you will need to restart JOSM so that you enable some of these settings to apply. Like most of the settings in the devices that we use, when you change a setting, usually most of the time it will ask you to restart or to reboot, whatever it does for us. Then the other important aspect of JOSM is the plugins. So there are lots and lots of plugins that have been developed by different developers, different users, depending on the different needs that these developers and the users have. So some of those plugins will require them to be able to perform better mapping with JOSM. For example, the buildings plugin help us to map already tagged buildings so that we don't map buildings and forget to tag them. And it also helps us to map squared buildings at the same time. And also you can change the shapes to circular instead of you going to draw the buildings and then you circularize them. So plugins are, in short, like plugins are tools that help us to perform more functionalities easier and quicker than how we do them manually. So again, to be able to download these plugins, then you need to go to the edit and settings, and then you look for the plugins button, and yeah, you download those plugins and have them installed in JOSM. So for most of the mapping that we do, there are some of the plugins that are recommended to be installed before you do any other things, and some of those are the buildings plugin, the utils plugin, and the Mapathona. So what you need to do is to go to settings, and then you go to, what you need to do is go to edit preferences, then go to plugins, and you should be able to download some of those plugins. So if I may show you maybe here, so I hope you can see my JOSM, and this is the edit menu. So you have to go to
Samson. Okay,
yeah.
now it's up. Now it's up.
Okay. So you have to go to preferences. Just go to edit and go to preferences. So preferences, you'll be able to see all these preferences here. Then I started by showing you how to connect to the OpenStreetMap server. Here you're giving JOSM to access your OpenStreetMap account. Then I move to remote control. Here you're giving JOSM, you're enabling JOSM to be able to speak with other softwares that you want to use or access JOSM, like the web browsers and QGIS. For those that have interacted with QGIS, you should be able to sorry, you should be able to know that QGIS also interacts with JOSM in some way or the other. And then now we are on plugins. So if you want to install these plugins, for the first time when you install JOSM, you will not see this list. But what you need to do is to come here and click on this button, which is download list. And you should be able to see all this list of plugins. There are very many, and depending on the needs and whatever you need to do, so you select the plugins that you want to use. So if you want to download the buildings plugin, so you just need to come here to the search bar and search for buildings. Then you'll be able to see all these plugins, and you choose this building tool as we've seen, and click OK to be able to download and install that plugin. So I will not do that because for me, I already have that plugin. So these are the plugins that will require you to download and have installed in your JOSM to be able to pop up with the mapping that you will be doing. So once you have installed those plugins and you have set everything, you have enabled remote control. One, you can access OpenStreetMap directly through JOSM by going to the download buttons and select an area that you're interested in mapping, and you have that data in JOSM and you start editing it. Or you can also access OpenStreetMap via a web browser like Google Chrome or Firefox or whichever you'll be using. And instead of editing with ID, that time you use editing with JOSM. So to be able to speak with JOSM, and it will download the data to JOSM, and that's how I will edit your data from. So for you to be able to access OpenStreetMap directly from JOSM, then you have to go to File and go to download data. Then you zoom to that specific area. Usually we start by mapping our home areas where we come from. So you have to navigate to that area that you know, then draw a square like that pink box that you're seeing, and then you download that data. The pink box that you're downloading shouldn't be big because it will not download, and shouldn't be too small for you not to see anything in the area that you want to map. So it should be a reasonable size. And yeah, so it's from there where they had to choose like what size should it be for the task in the tasking manager. So it's the same idea like what you see here. So once you have downloaded that data into JOSM, then yeah, you should be able to use now the tools that I showed you at first, the editing tools, to be able to edit OpenStreetMap. So like I said, you can access OpenStreetMap directly from JOSM by using the file, download data, or even these two buttons, one which downloads the data, and we have these two buttons here. One downloads the data and the other one uploads the data. So these are the two main buttons that you'll be using to download. So if you hit this button, then you should be able to see OpenStreetMap in the background. Then you need to zoom to that specific area that you need to map, and then you draw a reasonable square that you would want to map. So, and you click on download, then this will be able to speak with OpenStreetMap server, and it will download for you the data in that area. And what it is telling you here is that you have only downloaded data for this area that is clearly visible. For the shaded area, do not add there, do not map there, do not change anything there, because someone else could be doing that at the same time. So don't bring in overlaps and duplicating the efforts. So this is an area that you have to concentrate to and do the mapping. And it's the same idea, like I said, when you download data, when you download data through the tasking manager. So this would literally be like one of the tasks that you will be mapping. So yeah, let's move. So in the tasking manager, you can set the tasking manager to always launch for you, JOSM, or you can set it to, what I mean here is you can set the default editor in the tasking manager profile. So what you need to do is to make sure that you have set your profile in the tasking manager, and whenever you feel like me, I am a JOSM guy, and all the time I need to be using JOSM, then you have to set your default editor to JOSM so that every time you choose a task, then it loads for you in JOSM, as long as you have it open on your computer and you have enabled the remote control setting in JOSM. So, you guys are quiet. Are we all together? Do we have a question, or you're no longer hearing me? You're not seeing my screen? What's going on? Let's be
I
interactive
cannot
for a
see
few
any
minutes.
questions in the chat yet.
Right. So, we are all aware that as you're contributing to OpenStreetMap, you don't just contribute from the air. What you need to do is to have a reference imagery in the background that you will be using to trace the features either in JOSM or in ID editor, but here we are just talking about JOSM. So once you have downloaded the data for the specific area that you want to map in JOSM, then you need to enable the satellite imagery that you will be using as a reference in the background. And for you to be able to see that, you need to go to imagery, and you will be able to see the list of images that are available for you. Sometimes once you install JOSM, it's not a must that will come with these images, but most of it, sometimes you will install JOSM without internet, and then all that you will see will be, I hope you can see my JOSM. Just going to remove everything that is there. And so I've removed everything that is there, and this is the fresh JOSM software that has been launched. So sometimes you will come to be able to get the imagery, then you need to come to imagery here, and you select any of these images. But also, if you are using the tasking manager, most of the time the project manager for that project will select for you and choose for you which image you're supposed to use. Maybe that will be preset already, or it will be in the instructions that please use either Maxa Premium Imagery, or if they have a special imagery that they would want to use, maybe they have bought it, or they have access to the open aerial image and they would want to use a specific drone imagery there, then they would add it. But most of the time, if you're using the tasking manager, yes, always try to find what they are saying about the imagery to be used. But what I wanted to tell you here is sometimes you will not find these images already here. You'll find them empty. But as you go here, then you will find imagery preferences. It's the one that enables you to have these images on the list. So when you go to imagery preference, then you'll be able to see a number of images here, and all you need to do is to click on any. For example, if we didn't have, let's say if we didn't have Bing aerial image in our list here, say I need to use Bing, but I can't see Bing here. So what you need to do is to go to imagery preference, and you will see the available default entries, and you find which image you would want to have. Say you want to have Bing, then you highlight it and you click on activate, one that brings that image to your list, and you say okay. So when you say okay, when you go back to imagery, then you'll be able to find Bing imagery and you use it. So if I can repeat what we were talking about, is you can go to file and click download data, or you can actually access the download button directly from here. then you navigate to where you would want to map. Let's say right now I need to map in the Asia Pacific, I need to map in Indonesia, and I want to map around this place. So what I will do is to navigate around and say, okay, I need to map around this area, and yeah, I will come here and highlight a square, draw a square here, and download that data there. So JOSM will be able to download for me the data from OpenStreetMap. So this is the available data from OpenStreetMap, but I don't have the reference layer, which is the satellite image that I want to use to trace my features. So I have to go to imagery and choose any of the imagery as I might want. Then it will load for me the imagery in the background, and I will use that to trace that I want to add to the screen. So that's what you're seeing just here on the screen. So we said that if you want to map better using JOSM, then you will need a mouse, because you will need to do a lot of zooming in and out, and then panning, and so if you have no mouse, then you will find difficulties. But yeah, you need a mouse for you to be able to navigate and use JOSM very well. And some of the basics of using the mouse to do mapping in JOSM is for you to be able to drag the map, then you need to use the right click, and for you to be able to highlight or select or add a feature or anything, then you need to use the left click of the mouse. Then the scroll bar is most of the time does this does the scrolling and then the zooming in and out of the map features. And beyond that, you also have the keyboard, which sometimes can help you to navigate JOSM, but then yeah, for it does most of the shortcuts. Like instead of going to main menu to choose the button or click the button, you instead hit maybe 2 buttons on the keyboard or 1 button on the keyboard, and yeah, you'll be already having the tool. So in JOSM, if you are going to contribute to OpenStreetMap, then you need to be aware of the 3 main modes of operation when editing. So you can first of all select what's available to view it or to edit it or to move it or whatever you want to do. Then the other mode is you are adding a new feature. You should be able to know which tool adds for me the features. And then the other is the delete. The delete is so much discouraged in OpenStreetMap unless you have proven that feature or the data is worth deleting. And there are very many ways how you can prove that. But unless you have done that, then it's not good or it's discouraged to just delete people's contribution, because it's really, really important to have history in OpenStreetMap, and that's why deleting is so much encouraged. So what are the basic elements in OpenStreetMap? If maybe some of us are not from the GIS background, but if you have that basic GIS background, then you should be able to know the 3 main divisions of GIS data. And GIS data is actually divided into 3 main, I mean vector data, and those are points, lines, and polygons. And it's the same idea that OpenStreetMap data uses as well, because as we are contributing to OpenStreetMap data, we are actually contributing to GIS data or geospatial data. So what are nodes? What are ways? And what are the areas closed ways? The nodes are those points or the dots that are used to denote locations that you have identified. And each node has it has the X and Y and the easting. And what are the ways? Ways are ordered lists of nodes displayed as connected by lines or segments. So if you have one node and you have another, and then you connect those nodes with a line, then that becomes a way. So examples of nodes above include like water points, school points, house facility points, and down here the examples of ways include roads, electricity lines, railways, rivers, and many others that we shall be able to identify. And then the closed ways or areas or polygons in these waves which go in a closed loop. You start, you have your node, then you connect it to another, and eventually you connect the end node to the first node that you had, and you close it. So that's like a closed way or an area or a polygon feature. And those include parks, they include lakes, islands, land uses, buildings, and many others that would be mapped as closed features or as closed ways. So how do we get to draw some of those nodes or the ways or the areas and all the polygons? So all you need to do is to go to JOSM and pick the draw nodes tool, because that draw nodes tool, you need to get it clearly that it's the only tool that is used to add features in JOSM. If you want to draw those features manually, then that's the only tool. The one that draws the nodes, the one that draws the ways, and it's the one that draws the polygons or the closed ways. So depending on how you play with that tool, that's the feature that you will create, or that's the feature that will be adding OpenStreetMap. You click once and you leave it like that, then you have drawn a node. So what you need to do is to pick the tool, click once, and you either double click or you click once and press escape, then you will have drawn a node. So the next would be tagging and telling what that node is. And then if you use that same tool, you draw, you connect the different nodes there, you would have drawn a way. And yeah, that's how it will look like. And remember, you are using the same tool. So just click once to the first node, the second node. So when you reach the last node, you just double click or you press escape. Then you can reselect that feature that you have drawn and give it more information depending on what you'll be drawing. Then for polygons or closed ways, it's still the same tool, but here you have to close the way. And closing the way means that from the first node that you have drawn, that's where your end node will close from. And there you will have closed the way, and that can be closed ways or could be areas or could be polygon information. So this is it using the same tool to draw nodes, draw lines or ways, and to draw closed ways, areas, or polygons. So familiarize yourself with that, and yeah, it will be the way to go. Just for all the features that you want to add, and that's the tool that you use. But like we've said before, if you download some of the plugins that we talked about, then you will simplify some of the work. But some of the features like roads, maybe there's no plugin available as of yet, or it's there, but maybe I don't know it or I've not used it. But yeah, we shall keep learning and get to understand what all these things really mean for us. Okay, so you have installed JOSM, you have drawn some of the features that you wanted to draw, and now you want to tag those features to be able to render in OpenStreetMap. OpenStreetMap tagging is very, very key, because if you draw anything on OpenStreetMap and you don't tag it, it will be like useless information, because no one will see that and no one will use that information. So one of the key things that you need to have on your fingertips are tagging. Tagging in simple way is trying to describe what you have drawn, just like that. Because we've seen very many examples of nodes, and we've seen very many examples of ways, and very many examples of closed ways. But if you don't tell what you have drawn, then no one will know it, and no one will use that information, and that information probably will not render. So if you draw something, you upload that information in OpenStreetMap and seeing what you did or what you have tagged, the features. And so the tagging in OpenStreetMap takes two key aspects, and one of them is the key and the other is the value. So, and examples of these are, if you can see down here below, you will see building equals yes. And then that means that the building is the key, or that's the feature that you have mapped, and yes is the value that you are trying to say that this is a building. Otherwise, you will draw very many closed ways, and one of them will be a building, another will be a land use, another will be a lake. But if you don't tell what they are, then they will be useless. No one will use them, or no one will use that information in the map. So you need to have tagging as one of the main things that you must do whenever you draw a feature or whenever you add a feature to OpenStreetMap. So if I can go back to this slide here, you will see that someone drew a road here and they tagged it as highway, which is the key, and equals residential. So that means the key is highway and residential is the value of that road, because you will have very many highways, but with different values. So the key is just one, and then the values can be different. For example, building. If you have building equals yes, someone can say building equals residential, meaning that it's a residential building. Someone can say building equals church, meaning that it's a place of worship, and many others. So the same way here, someone tagged the highway and said highway equals residential. That means it's a road that serves where people reside, or it could be highway equals to primary. That means it's a primary road that connects maybe districts to districts or regions to regions, or primary highway equals footpath, or meaning it's just a footpath. And also he just gave it also another key with another value. So here name equals Broad Street. That means the key is the name and the value is the name of that road. And also here someone tagged a fuel station, that amenity equals fuel. And so that means the key is amenity and the value is fuel. And also the name is the key, then total is the value. So it's really, really important to give the minimum information to a feature that you have added to OpenStreetMap, so that whoever wants to use that information can find like the minimum required information to use. So here example, if someone had just added amenity equals fuel, then literally you will not know which fuel station is that, or because there are very many different fuel stations, and yeah, you will not know which station that would be. But if someone specifies and gives it the name, then yeah, that is really important. So as I was saying, the reason for tagging is this. So someone here just mapped features, very many features, and they mapped them nicely. These are roads and buildings, and yeah, but if there's no tag that has been attached to them, then they won't render in the map. So the map will remain blank because there are there are specific styles that have been given these features or these tags for them to be able to render in OpenStreetMap. And if you don't give the tag to a feature that you've added, then it won't pick the style that has been given it to render in OpenStreetMap, and it will remain, the map will just remain blank. So why is tagging still important? Like I've told you, we also need to know which features have you drawn. You can draw very many ways, but we need to know which one is a road, which one is a river, or which one is a railway, because we need to know that. And some people are interested in picking specific information. So someone who is interested in picking railways data need to only query out railway information. So if you don't tag that information, then it will be really useless in OpenStreetMap. And how do you add tags? So after you have added the building, so what you need to do is to go to the tags/memberships, and then you add the tag. You need to select that feature that you've added, then click on add tag. And if you don't know the tag, then there are very many resources that have been developed that can guide you on how to do tagging. But also JOSM has the presets that help you to tag the features that you have mapped. That is like a demo on how to map buildings in JOSM, and here we are using the buildings plugin that we downloaded to map out and trace these buildings. So like I said, the buildings plugin is important in such a way that when you map a building, it comes when it is already tagged as buildings. So you need to get to know how to map these buildings using the buildings tool. Also, if you can use the draw features tool, you will also end up with the same thing. But the other important thing here as we draw buildings is to know how to draw buildings with very many corners and edges, because it's important also to give like the correct shape of the building. So one of the tools that we use to do that is the Extrude Tool, which can be accessed by just pressing X on the keyboard. And I'm just going to demonstrate that quickly here. Maybe this when we set this, yeah. Okay, so I will assume that this is the building that someone wanted to draw and it is having, or maybe let me assume that there's a building here and I have used my buildings tool and I draw that building like this. So it comes when it is tagged. So when I highlight this and select that building, then I check here in the tags and memberships, then I will be able to see that the key is the building and the value is yes. So it is already tagged building. And if you want, if it has very many corners and edges, then what you need to do is to just press X on your keyboard and you will have the Extrude tool. Or you can come direct and find the Extrude tool here and you pick it. So what you need to do is to come to where there is an edge, for example, here, then you double click here and you add a node, and then you move the segment between the two. If there is another one here, you add it and you move the segment between the two nodes, and you'll be able to create the very many corners or edges that the building has. So like we've said before, the mouse is very, very important tool to have while using JOSM. So that's the tool that I'm from explaining, from showing you how to use that to create the edges and the corners of buildings. Then the buildings tool has been developed in such a way that all circular buildings. So what you need to do is you can switch the tool to draw square buildings or rectangular buildings and switch it back to draw circular buildings. And for you to be able to draw, by default, the building tools will come in the rectangular mode. But for you to be able to change to circular mode, then you need to go to data, then you change, you set the building's shape to circle, and we shall be seeing that maybe later. But also how you can do that quickly with the keyboard shortcuts is by pressing alternative and R, which makes the tool to rectangle, and then alternative plus Z, which switches the tool to the circular mode. And then what you need to not forget is to upload the information that you always map. So whenever you map something, you need to upload the changes that you have edited, because if you're using, for example, the desktop, you may find challenges like when power goes, you lose your edit. So it's always recommended that whenever you do some reasonable edits in OpenStreetMap, then you upload the changes. Then mapping roads, the same tool like I showed you. For it, we have no plugin that has been developed yet, or maybe it's there, but we haven't used it. But yeah, what you need to do is to pick the draw nodes tool and you trace the building. Then after, you need to give it a tag that this is a highway, and which is the key, and the value is either primary, secondary, tertiary, residential, and whatever you would have identified, and the number of resources that really help you to find the different. Then the same way, mapping land use as farmland, or where you have to start to the first point that you created, and then you tag them as that kind of land use that you intend to map. Then JOSM also is a good tool to use to make edits on the already existing features that you find already mapped on OpenStreetMap. So it's not used to only add features, but also to edit and modify the already existing features on OpenStreetMap. For example, you can use it to rotate buildings. You can use it to make buildings squared. You can use it to resize the buildings by you will have the good thing is you are going to have access to these slides, and you will see which shortcuts to press. And I'm also going to share with you a link to JOSM shortcuts, and it has like very many shortcuts that you can have on your fingertips on what to do with already existing data. So you can press Shift and Control just to rotate the building. You can see this building here was not aligning properly to the shape of the building that someone intended to map. So you just need to press Shift and Control to be able to rotate the building, or you can press Control and Alternative to resize the building, and yeah, a lot more that you can do. So the imagery, we had already seen that, like how to first of all have the imagery on the imagery preferences. But once you have the imagery, some of us have the visibility differences in terms of light, and you can edit all that by just clicking on the image. Then you go to visibility settings and you enhance any of these, and you should be able to switch and see where and when do you see the image clearer. So don't get limited that maybe the image is darker or the image is more lighter. Then you can do of these. I'm not going to talk about this. I'll just share with you a link that takes you to all of these shortcuts. Also, I will share with you a link that takes you to the list of these plugins that are available. There are really very many, and you'll be able to read about them and understand what most of them or all of them do, and you will relate and say which ones you need and which ones you don't need. Then Becky, can I hand over the mic back to you and you talk about the work plan?
Yes, sure. Thank you so much, Samson. Maybe just one more thing. I don't know if you're able to illustrate how to map Mount Polygons. So I just realized in the project that we are working on, there are lots of Mount Polygons, but then we were intending to train Mount Polygons in the advanced session. So maybe I can walk through this and do the Mount Polygon, or if you don't mind, Samson, you can do the Mount Polygon. So yeah, what do you prefer?
Yeah, let me do the Mount Polygon.
Awesome.
Yep. So
Awesome.
yeah, let me try to look around here and see if
I
there
can
could
share
be.
I can share the link to the chat of the project that we are working on, or you can just copy it from the presentation. It's on the last presentation. Let me see. Okay, just a minute. So, just a minute. Let me copy and paste. So I've shared the link in the chat. That's a project that we are working on. You can just select one of the tasks. Hopefully you get one with a Mount Polygon.
Yeah.
As Samson looks for the task, I just wanted to mention that we are mapping remotely. So most of the work, like names of places, names of roads, we are ignoring all that. Please do not add the name of a road or a name of a place unless you've been there or you live in that area and you're sure it's exactly that place. So in order to be super sure, please tag everything as building equals yes, or building equals construction, or highway equals residential, unclassified, etc. So please feel free to ask any more questions.
Yeah, still trying to find a task that has multi.
If it's giving you a hard time, I think you can just assume then. Feel free to enter in your questions in the chat. Samson, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there trying to find something that I can use for a multi-polygon. So I think what I'm going to do is just to to assume a multi-polygon. I don't know if you can see my screen here.
We are seeing your browser.
You're seeing my browser. Okay, let me first stop sharing. Then I share again the entire screen. Can you see it now?
Not yet, but it's popping up. It's saying Samson has started sharing his screen. It's up. We can see it now.
All right, so I'm just going to assume that this building here is a multi-polygon and it has just space here in the middle. And what you can do there is to map out the entire of this building once, like this, and also give it the corners that I had talked about before. I'm just going to add these corners here and here, and then these ones here. So what I again do, I will still use the buildings tool and draw the space that is inside. I draw it as a building, and I will go to the select, move, scale, and rotate objects tool. Then I highlight the outer and I press Control and also highlight the inner building. And I can go to more tools, then I go to create multi-polygon. So you can access that to tools, create multi-polygon, and you will create a multi-polygon like that. Or you can also access it by just highlighting both of them and you press Ctrl B. It will also create a multi-polygon which looks like this.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any questions, guys? There's one question in the chat, Samson, that's saying, can you explain how shadows can help us to map buildings?
Yep, it's actually also one of the important aspects that we need to know as we are mapping buildings, because especially when it applies to raised buildings like skyscrapers or even multi-floors. So these satellite images can be captured at an angle where you find that a building was captured, but then there is a shadow, or there is, you can't see like its real foundation, but you see the building at an angle. So you also need to understand and be able to see where the shadow is and what is the actual foundation of the building. So if this is the building, then that means that building was actually building, and then you have this shadow, and that means that the actual roof of the building. So if you can see like here, so you cannot start mapping this shadow of the building. So all you need to do is to map the actual building, but then once you see that there was a shadow and this is the actual foundation of the building, then you have to move that building to its real foundation. So Let me just try to do a demo here. So this shadow indicates that you can see there's a shadow this side and this side, but there is no shadow here and here. So that means the satellite was somewhere around this side and it captured this building. So what you need to do is to map this building from here to that. So you don't need to capture the shadow like this. And then if this is a skyscraper, and you would know that what you've actually mapped is the roof of the building, but not the foundation of the building. So once you have finished mapping this, then you need to move the building to its real foundation, and you ignore the heights and the shadows. Is that clear?
Maybe to add on that, what Samson has said. So usually to identify buildings, we use 3 main pointers. That is shadows. Why? Because buildings tend to have an elevation, like a height to it. So when they're taking the satellite imageries, shadows tend to like reflect. That's what Samson explained. And then the other thing we do is the color of the roof and the color of the ground. So shadows help us to identify and to differentiate between a building and vegetation. And yeah, something like that. Any other questions? Please keep them coming. Someone said that the presentation was more clear and well explained. Thank you so much, Samson. Yeah, and then another thing, the shortcut keyboard keys already posted in the chat, in the channel. And then let me see, I think there are no more questions. Do you have any more questions? Okay, Samson, if you're able to show us the last work plan slide, to be awesome. Still coming. Awesome. So for the data quality interns, from now until the advanced JOSM session that will be on Monday, please familiarize yourself with JOSM by spending 8 hours on mapping. So since you had like about an hour and a half, thank you, Samson, an hour and a half of this, so that means you have about 6.5 hours to do mapping. And then the other thing we are doing is that we are working for this internship. Please, we are working on this project right here. And before you upload, please remember to add the hashtag of Data Quality Internship 2022. And that's it. If you have no questions, thank you, Samson, for today. Have a great day, everyone. Please share any challenges you have in the chat for help. Yeah. Someone is saying 8 hours per day until Monday. So the thing is this, if you started working from Monday, you might have to stop on Friday. So it's like a normal working place. Let me first, just a minute. Let me first